Out of control mopeds are terrorizing New York City, and the NYPD is going to crack down. Some say it's not enough.
Also coming up, a popular beach on the East Coast is also home to quicksand.
Whoa.
One beachgoer said she dropped like a rock.
Whoa, a little bit later on, Andy Cohen, he is admitting he's actually waiting for the one thing that's going to cancel him after all the Bravo lawsuits.
Daily Flash starts right now.
Get ready for trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. The fun starts right now. This is Daily Flash.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Jackson.
I'm Mitch English, welcoming you to Daily Flash. We got a great show lined up for you. You're midweek, halfway through the week, all the way to our hearts you are. Matt Doolittle will check in with him. How are you? Oh, he's got the
Hi,
heart
Matty.
thing going on.
Me and the camera guy Jimmy, we got a heart thing going
I
on.
noticed
Look at you
guys.
Swifties.
Yeah.
You know
Very
what?
impressive.
Today I get to go
I'm
ride.
watching you two.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a thing. I get to go ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure this afternoon.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited. It's a new ride. They replaced Space Mountain,
Splash Mountain.
Not Space Mountain, Splash Mountain with this ride. I'm excited. I've seen all the
Good.
walkthroughs, and me as a Disney nerd, I'm ready to go.
The towels, make sure you, because is it still, hopefully it's just as wet as it used to be.
Oh, it's the same. It's the same track ride.
They
Just
just
a
changed.
different artwork.
Yeah.
Different artwork and a different story and everything, but yeah, I'm gonna be soaked. It's fine. I got my Florida clothes ready to go, and it's gonna
Okay.
be raining all day anyway. But I am so excited for it. Like, it's a new ride. It's a thing.
Yeah. All right.
It's a thing.
Whatever,
It's a
take
thing.
some pictures. so
Just
we
don't
can
drink
show
the water. I
Don't
just
drink
won't drink the water.
please. I
I'm
wouldn't.
worried I'm going to get water out of your flower here.
Don't really get real close. It does look like one, doesn't it?
So we've talked a lot about tipping here and tipping outrage,
Oh, man,
right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take it to the next level. Story about a Reddit user who was shopping on a website and she got to the checkout and she was buying a t-shirt and the checkout asked if she would like to leave a 15% tip for the
Wow.
artist who ironed on the decal to the t-shirt.
No.
No. No, and the thing about it is, and now you're concerned because if they haven't done their job yet, they're like, well, okay, will you get the same level of service? Which is, by the way, what a tip is supposed to be after the service is given to you. You have not received a service.
To ensure promptness.
Right, exactly.
To ensure promptness, TIP, yes.
So, and our promptness, or just a good job, heck, you know.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. More websites are moving towards that, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I just have an issue. with that.
I mean, I think it started with, you're checking out at a counter, right? And there's the tip jar there, and people are sort of mixed about, what do I leave a tip? Do I not leave a tip? Now you're going through the drive-throughs, and anytime you use your credit card or your phone, it's like, oh, well, we need you to read the screen right here and just answer one of these questions. I mean, it just seems like it's endless.
And
The worst
they
though
start
is when they do this.
They give it to
Yeah.
They give it to you and they look away and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I can see you're looking at me.
You're gonna know.
I thought the convenience machine,
The kiosks?
yeah, the kiosks, for them asking for a tip, I thought we've hit a new low. But this to me is like definitely a new low.
We here on Daily Flash will not ask for
We'll take a
tips.
tip, though.
We'll
No,
take
we'll
your
take a tip.
tips like on news stories and such, but
Yes.
we won't ask for any extra money at all. It's got to stop, and I think just like everything else where people get tired of it, it's going to get to a
Yes.
point, maybe we'll just get rid of tipping altogether like they do in England. It's
possible.
or the European nations. Let's head back to Gotham, New York City, where the police department...
Chicago!
That's okay, Matt.
all
just
right,
go look
honey.
at history. It was called Gotham back in the 1800s. The NYPD there has launched their latest crackdown on reckless vehicles in Manhattan. They said they've recently seized 39 mopeds and motorcycles, and it actually issued dozens of citations, even arrested a guy. Seizures actually come as mopeds and scooters are being used for quick crime getaways all across the city. Photos on social media show an officer taking an 18-year-old suspect in. The officer was dragged by the e-biker who was eventually charged with reckless endangerment and resisting arrest. New Yorkers are applauding the cops for taking the mopeds off the streets. However, some say that while the crackdown is a good thing, they don't believe it will actually cut down the out-of-control crime in the city. I don't think so either. Here's what it is. If you have a bicycle that has a motor on it and you think, oh, I'm going to go out and get some exercise, I have never seen anybody pedaling on those bikes. Have you ever?
No.
No. And if they are, they're like doing it really slow and it's going really fast. And that's what a moped is. It's a half bike, half
electric scooter.
Scooter, Vespa. I have a little Vespa. I have a motorcycle as well, and I get that. But I don't get to ride on the sidewalks like these bikes do.
That was my next question for you. So, they've got these bike trails and these running trails throughout, different areas, and most of them say no motorized vehicles. So where does an e-bike fit in this? Isn't that a motorized vehicle? You can't have a moped on those walking and running trails, can you?
I know. And then where does E come into it? Usually, like when you think electronic, there's no electronics on it. It's not like it's space age or anything. It's a motor. That's what's making the bike move.
Yes.
And they're convenient and they're easy to get around. You can see why more and more people, especially like in New York, do it. And it's probably out of convenience that people can do that. Use them.
And when it comes to crime, they're a much easier getaway, especially in some place like New York, because they can dodge in and out of traffic and they can dodge down small spaces and lose the.
You can steal them. There's really no identification outside of the serial numbers. And it's harder to do.
True. It is swim or sink at one beach along the coast of Maine as it deals with quicksand. Jamie Accord was strolling along the water in Popham Beach State Park with her husband when she says she suddenly just dropped like a rock and fell hip deep into the sand. Her quick-acting husband was able to pull her from the hole, and they watched in shock as it filled back in with sand and then disappeared. The popular destination has had several cases of quicksand encounters. Luckily, the frightening falls aren't quite as dramatic as Hollywood would portray them. Park rangers said they are putting up signs to warn people. They advise anyone who ends up in quicksand to stay calm, drop any items you're carrying, and disperse your weight, all while screaming like a maniac for help.
Scream as much as you can.
Stay calm. I love that. Just stay calm and drop your belongings.
Isn't that stuff that's usually in Looney Tunes cartoons or the old TV shows from the 70s?
Yeah, and it's like a slow moving thing where you fall down into it.
All of a sudden Gilligan's going in quicksand or something.
Yes.
They say though the more you move, the faster you're going to fall down. I do know that is a thing. It's kind of like ice as well. But here in Florida, I know they're having a huge problem with people like, hey, I'm going to bury ourselves. And that actually happens as well. It's similar to quicksand, and then people get stuck in it. Kids have done that, and they've had huge issues with that, and they're asking people not to do that. Now, you have to keep in mind, I mean, there's water and there's the sand and there's something's going to happen there, so keep that in mind.
And if you're digging a hole in the sand and trying to bury yourself 10 feet deep anywhere in Florida, and I would imagine any sort of beach or coastal area, there is an element of sinking underneath you, a sinkhole giving way.
Absolutely. I mean, we're at sea level, so keep that in mind. We move on now to Bravo host Andy Cohen, where he says he is actually waiting for the thing that's going to cancel him after being the center of a number of lawsuits involving former Bravo stars. The 55-year-old Watch What Happens host is fascinated by the fact that at any moment he could say something and have the rug pulled out underneath him. Cohen says anyone in the business has to be smart about what they have to say because people are waiting to be outraged for every little thing. At last check, Cohen is still employed, even after a number of allegations regarding his behavior behind the scenes from several Real Housewives. Cohen continues his business as normal, hosting Watch What Happens Live and Bravo show reunions. When you're the boss and the host, you are target number one, and they're going to the housewives are going to look for something that's going to give them a little leverage, and they're going to see, oh, the problem starts with you, I would imagine. But he is right. We're at a cancel culture. This is cancel culture. Anything you say or do is now going to be held up.
I have to say this, in watching the recent coverage of D-Day and some of these World War II veterans going over to France to, honor that particular moment in time, you think what those guys went through, right? Then you think about the outrage culture we're dealing with today. And it's like, it doesn't even hold a candle to what those guys did. It shouldn't matter. It's like, move on. But we're so trigger happy to be upset or outraged by the wrong look, the wrong outfit, the wrong shoe, you look at me a different way, and then I'm outraged.
I think it all comes from we want everybody to think the same way that we think
Yeah.
as humans. And partly I get that, but I think when you really grow is when you actually open your ears. You don't have to agree with them, but just listen to other people's
Yeah.
concerns. It kind of gives you a better aspect on what your values might be. And I think
Right.
we're at that point to where, all right, well, how can I get more a justification, or maybe I can make myself have self-importance if I attack somebody else, because you're putting yourself on a higher level.
I just think, like, you know, the matter of
you're right.
adversity, true adversity. What is really true adversity? You just
that's a
think
very
of
good point.
what some of the heroes in this country have done, and then you compare it to, you know, the outrage mob on social media. I mean, really, is
Yeah.
that really
I
adversity?
agree. Everyone should go watch Porky's. That'll cure
That'll cure
everything.
everything.
Just go watch Porky's.
You'll wonder, like, wow, yeah, you
That
have something to
happened.
complain about? Yeah, that
Yeah.
for sure. All right, first world problems is what we're
Yes.
talking about, by all means. But we, of course, have first-rated stuff right around the corner here on Daily Flash. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Daily Flash here. Let's talk about some trending stories here. Actress Sofia Vergara is expanding her empire with her new coffee company called Dios Mío Coffee. It's a tribute from Latino women to the world. The coffee is actually made by women who are part of the National Federation of Coffee Growers. Their mission is to work for the well-being of the Colombian coffee growers with a union and an unofficial organization. Vergara says her new coffee brand isn't just about finding the best beans, but also about celebrating the amazing women behind the product. It's been Juan Valdez for way too long, right?
Way too long.
The coffee items range from K-cups, ground coffee packs, coffee beans, even coffee pods. New venture seems pretty promising. After all, Colombian coffee is some of the best in the world, they say.
yeah.
It's good to see this, too. I mean, it sounds like she's really trying to empower women in you know, all over the world and that sort of thing. And everybody loves coffee, right?
Who doesn't love coffee?
And I think coffee is one of those things. Here's the thing. I wonder, we drink so much coffee because it's free. Like when we come into work, it's always free
Yes.
everywhere, you
Yes.
know? And it's easier to try to quit drinking coffee is very difficult.
It is.
If you think about it.
You and I both worked on morning shows for most of our
Yeah.
career, and it never fails. The worst coffee in the world is always in a newsroom. I mean, how is that possible? Why can they not get that right?
You're 100% right.
The worst. You always see like a can of generic ground coffee in the cabinet, and I'm thinking to myself, really? We all depend on this.
I think, yeah, and it's the scoops. I think
Yes.
K-Cup helped out a little bit, but it's
little.
kind of wasteful
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's expensive. But it's the scoops, and you have different people making it, and you have the overnight guy that just, you know, I don't want to be the
Sometimes those
coffee guy.
grounds have sat there for who
Yes.
knows how long.
Exactly. That could be a good reason why. Who knows?
Despite the advances made in cancer research and treatments, cancer therapy still remains hit or miss. Joining us now is Dr. Chris Apfel of Sage Medic with some hope for cancer patients struggling with standard cancer treatments. Doctor, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Why does cancer therapy remain hit or miss, even in this era of precision medicine?
Yes, well, that's a really important question. And many people ask me that. Cancer is incredibly complex, and each patient's cancer is really unique. And so, although we understand some of the genetic changes that can affect those cancer cells, this information only touches the surface. For instance, if you think of Keith Flaherty from Harvard, who published in 2020 the results of the National Cancer Institute's MATCH trial, he was actually able to show that only 1 in 4 patients could be matched to a targeted therapy.
Wow.
And even then, no guarantee is given that this therapy will actually work. So at the end of the day, only 1 out of 10 patients today benefit from genome-driven targeted therapy. So they're in what we think is precision medicine.
It's hard to believe in this day and age with the billions of dollars that are donated to cancer research that we're still struggling to find a cure, that we're still struggling with therapy. What are the limitations of the current standard of care?
Yeah, let me start with saying that standard of care is really important to ensure a consistent level of quality of care. And in many cases, a deviation from standard of care actually can lead to inferior patient outcomes. So standard of care is really important. As a physician, I strongly believe this. However, standard of care often is based on, let's say, randomized controlled trials, which provide strongest level of evidence for the effectiveness of an intervention. But as Dr. Peter Attia points out in his book Outlive, these trials often assess a diverse group of patients to determine an average result, which drug would be better. But every patient is different. And so while effective for the many, this approach of standard of care in thinking about how groups, which treatment is best for a certain group of people, overlooks the uniqueness of each patient's cancer in the field of oncology. And therefore, consequently, treatments that work well on the average may not work well on you or on individual differences that can very significantly impact cancer outcomes.
Why is self-advocacy so important for cancer patients? I mean, you mentioned the fact that there's so many different cancers, there's so many different approaches. You really have to know what you're dealing with going into that doctor's office to make a plan for yourself.
Right, that's right. If you have an early stage small cancer that has not metastasized to other organs, standard of care and surgery from one of the large top cancer centers of the National Comprehensive Cancer Network might actually be all you need. However, if you have a progressed tumor that is stage 3, stage 4, that may already have metastasized to other organs, you might actually want to take the matters really into your own hands. In a way to speak up for your health. Dr. Arakel Georgiou has a very nice podcast on that I would actually highly recommend to anybody to listen in, how you actually can participate in making better informed decisions. And I would also recommend that you go with your partner, with your friends, or whoever think you might be helpful, because if you are diagnosed with cancer, you may not fully understand what your oncologist is telling you because you are under high level of stress.
Sure.
One of the things that I would also highly recommend is look at patient advocacy groups. For example, Brad Power has a so-called cancer patient labs, and you can join there. They invite experts, they discuss cases, and they have open discussions for a wide range of cancer that might help you a lot.
Real quickly, you mentioned a diagnostic approach. We just have a few seconds left here, Doctor. How does the test work?
Yeah, so we have developed the SAGE Oncotest, and that's important because traditional pathology only uses formalin-fixed and stained tissue to evaluate the structure to make a diagnosis. But formalin fixation kills the tissue, which limits the ability to predict accurately which therapy is likely to be most effective. And that's the reason why we developed a technology that enables us.
Very good, Doctor. Thank you so much. For more information, here's where you can go, sagemedic.com. We're back right after this.
Welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Mitch English. It's time to get on the scene with Doreen.
Hi, Mitch. It's great to see you. This week on The Scene with Doreen, I got to catch up with Ivan Dorschuk, Men Without Hats frontman and lead singer. You all remember the safety dance? Well, come and listen to the incredible backstory. Check it out.
We can dance, everybody look at your hands. We can dance, everybody's taking the chance. Safe to dance, oh, it's safe to dance. Yes, safe to dance.
Did you ever think when you were writing that it would just be reaching to the pop culture legend that it has?
No, probably not. But I must admit that when you're a young songwriter, you think everything you write is going to be huge, and you can't understand why people aren't lining up to throw their money at you right away. So the song sometimes is bigger than me, and it's bigger than the band, and it doesn't even belong to us anymore. I think I really feel that it belongs to everybody else, and I feel like sometimes like a traveling museum curator going around presenting this musical artifact that brings huge amount of joy to people. So it's taken on a life of its own for sure.
The message of Safety Dance, it's a big middle finger to the bouncers that wouldn't allow you to do the pogoing dance in clubs. I didn't know that. And it was really about you kind of saying, hey, bouncers, middle finger up to you. I want to do pogoing in the clubs.
Yeah, no, that was it. It was back, it was the late 70s. It was the dying days of disco, and sometimes the DJ would slip in like a new wave song, like a Blondie's Heart of Glass or B-52's Rock Lobster, Devo's Satisfaction, something like that. And we'd all get up and start dancing, and we'd start pogoing, jumping up and down, bouncing off each other's chest. And pogoing was the precursor to the mosh pit and the slam dancing, but nobody had ever seen it back then, so everybody thought we were fighting. And so that was it. After getting kicked out a few times, I went home and did something about it.
Hey, fellas, knock off all that high society crap and play some of this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If you could boil it down to just one reason why you think that song resonated so strongly with people, even maybe now, more than the 80s.
I think it's march to your own drummer. Don't be, especially now, don't feel the peer pressure, especially in the time of social media. It's something I think people need to hear. They need to hear that they can dance if they want to. They can do their own thing. They don't have to do what everybody else is doing.
Don't we need more of that? We really, really do. Well, you had Tide pick up your other tune, Pop Goes the World. I mean, Tide did a massive ad campaign around your song.
Well, even that, I used to introduce the song. I used to say this song used to be about saving the world, but now it's about keeping your clothes nice and white. So
I bet you that gets a nice response at live shows. That's great.
It does.
And you are still creating with the synthesizer that was used during the Safety Dance recording session, aren't you?
Yeah, we do. We kept a lot of our gear, and
That's cool.
We've been, making music and just sort of trying to, not try to reinvent the wheel. We're just sticking to what we do best. And we have some new stuff coming out this summer, too. At the end of the summer, we'll have some new singles out there.
Yes, like you mentioned, you have an extraordinarily busy touring schedule this summer. It was stops in Canada and the U.S.
The touring is so much fun that, as long as I'm enjoying it, I'm going to be out there.
If you want to hear the rest of our great conversation, visit right here. And for now, I'm Doreen Taylor with The Scene with Doreen, here every week at the Daily Flash. Catch you next time.
Welcome to Is It True, where I test the intelligence of the super intelligent Andrea Jackson, then Mitch English, to see if they know if it's true. Okay. This week, there is a photograph of an otherworldly wreckage on Mars. It's somewhat described as Otherworldly Wreckage on Mars, a website where they see all the other wreckage on Mars showed up. So this is it true that this is actually otherworldly wreckage?
So, like garbage?
Yes.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
I would say no. That can't be.
Yeah,
Look,
I'm gonna give it the thumbs down.
So I mean, look at it.
that looks pretty.
wreckage.
Yeah, it does.
Did it come from here, or did it come from another world?
Could have been a crashed out satellite. I'm gonna say
Yeah, yeah. Could be our trash.
no. It looks like Dorothy's house there on the left.
It does.
Well, 100% that is false. Well, the photograph is genuine. What it shows is NASA's lander Aeroshell. So they've got all this junk out there. And what I'm worried about, when we finally get to it, if the aliens are coming here, they're just going to run into a bunch of Starlink satellites, right?
Yeah.
When they just come through. That's what I think.
You know, it's funny you brought that up. I just read this. On the moon, there are 29 bags of vomit, poop, and everything from our
correct.
astronauts.
It's 100% correct.
That's a true.
We mess everything up.
This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. Trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch English.
I'm Andrea Jackson. This is Daily Flash, your source for trending news and entertainment.
When these polls come out, it's always interesting how they title them out. And I saw a poll just recently that says West Coasters love their mom more than anyone else.
Okay.
And this is their justification of this. I thought it was interesting.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Probably more than likely, right? Because they're West Coast. 44% of Westerners, people that live out west, say that they would actually visit mom if travel was cheaper. They say, and then they compared that to anybody else, and they said into the Midwest, only 19% of Midwesterners say I'd visit mom more if travel was cheaper. But what I wonder is that they're generally when people move west, they're further away, I guess, maybe, and that's the reason why. Maybe they're closer, like I see mom enough. And then altogether, they said, the people they polled, 27% of them say they only see mom about once a year.
Yeah.
So go see your mom. Maybe now with Zoom and everything, it makes it easier. You can see mom and see what's going on.
True. At least give her a call.
Yeah,
you
give her a
know?
call,
Or
right.
FaceTime her.
I see her once a day. She lives down the street.
That's true. You see her all
so I
the
have to
time.
see her almost
You're
every
a
day.
good son, Matt. You're a good
I try.
son.
I try
Yeah.
so hard. I try.
I wonder too, like if you talk about like extended families, and like you mentioned, if you move out west, maybe you're moving from the Midwest. Maybe more maybe more people tend to stay with where they've grown up if they grow up in the Midwest as opposed to anywhere else. So mom's closer to them.
I think you're right. I think that the population density outside of the bigger cities that you see in LA, usually when we think of West, we think of Los Angeles or Seattle. And
Yes.
but there's a lot of small little towns and there's not a whole big population boom there. So interesting. If this is anything, a reminder to call mom and just say
like
hi.
it.
And Zoom her maybe.
The NYPD has launched their latest crackdown on reckless vehicles in Manhattan. They recently seized 39 mopeds and motorcycles, issued dozens of citations, and even arrested one person. The seizures come as mopeds and scooters are being used for quick crime getaways all across the city. Photos on social media show an officer taking on an 18-year-old suspect. The officer was dragged by the e-biker, who was eventually charged with reckless endangerment and resisting arrest. New Yorkers are applauding the police for taking the mopeds off the streets. However, some say that while the crackdown is a good thing, they don't believe it will cut down on the out-of-control crime happening right now in the city.
And you look right behind him, there was a DoorDash guy on a bike too. But if you think about, I mean, that's the best way to get around in these metropolitan cities, and the availability of bikes. And I know there's programs where you can just go up and rent a bike. They have them here in Orlando as well. And you can go through traffic a lot easier. It's making a much better getaway.
Yeah, I think, I think they're also, the bigger cities are having issues with these motorcycle gangs or dirt bike gangs, you know, where there these people are roaming the streets in, you know, in groups in motorcycles or dirt bikes or the crotch rocket bikes, and they're
there was that whole
harassing
incident with
people.
Ian Ziering in the middle of Hollywood where he got attacked.
Yeah, and he got
forgot
attacked.
about that.
Yeah, so there's a serious issue going on with this kind of approach to crime.
All right. And by the way, if you have a bicycle that has a motor on it, you're not riding
not
a
a bike.
It's not a bike. Sorry.
Also, you want to see the greatest thing ever? It's Mitch English showing up with his helmet on his moped, with his own T-shirt of himself, with his website.
I had my motorcycle that day, but yes, I don't wear. Generally, I don't wear a helmet.
the Vespa.
No, I get on the Vespa.
I love a Vespa.
I don't wear a helmet on the Vespa. I'll be the first to tell you, but sometimes on the motorcycle, and sometimes I don't either. Now that I think of it, right? I'm selling the bike, by the way. If anyone wants to buy a motorcycle, I'm selling.
A motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
with
want
the
it?
cameraman
All right,
Jimmy
Jimmy.
says yes.
Jimmy, you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk. It's either swim or sink at one beach along the coast of Maine. It's dealing with what they're calling quicksand. Jamie, of course, she said she was strolling along the water in Pompano Beach State Park with her hubby, and she said she just suddenly dropped like a rock and fell in hip deep into the sand. Her quick-acting husband was able to pull her out from the hole as they watched in shock as it filled back up with sand and it all disappeared. The popular destination has been several cases of actually seeing that quicksand encounters. Luckily, frightening falls aren't quite as dramatic as Hollywood actually portrays them. Park rangers are saying they're putting up signs. Hey, there's quicksand areas, be careful. If you ever fall into quicksand, just take it easy. Don't start moving around because that's what's going to get you under.
Easy for you to say.
That's true. And then if you have anything in your hand, get it out, but scream as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, hopefully somebody will have a rope.
Yeah, right?
We have a rope for you to come back
Please.
right after this. Welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Mitch English. You know, these days it actually can be pretty difficult to encourage learning among kids. So last week we caught up with Emily the Space Gal. Check this story out.
It can be hard to inspire kids today to stretch the limits of their own imaginations, but nevertheless is oh so important to empower and encourage them creatively. At Iowa State, Arm & Hammer teamed up with Odyssey of the Mind World Finals event to do just that.
Odyssey of the Mind is this weird, wonderful, incredible competition that's for students of all ages to help teach them problem-solving skills and team-building skills that helps kids learn about STEAM and helps kids learn how to be curious problem solvers. And I am just so honored to be here amidst these very curious minds. And Arm & Hammer has been a sponsor of Odyssey of the Mind for the last 5 years. And so I am here on behalf of Arm & Hammer to help ignite the passion and curiosity of all the students here.
For those that don't know, STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And Arm & Hammer Baking Soda's connection to STEAM and Odyssey of the Mind demonstrates their continued mission of showing kids how science can be both fun and educational in and out of the classroom.
STEM and science and engineering, it doesn't end in the classroom. Science is all around us. And to be able to get that science confidence in your kid, you need to show them that science is in their home, it's in their backyard, it's on the playground, and I think parents can really be some of the best facilitators to help ignite that curiosity outside of the classroom. So many of the biggest problems need people who think slightly differently, and to be able to think slightly differently, you need to grow up in a different environment, you need to have slightly different world and life experiences, and so we need people of all types to be involved in science and technology.
Calandrelli says parents can encourage greater opportunities about STEAM learning at home, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
One of the best ingredients that you have at your disposal is Arm & Hammer baking soda because it is so versatile. For my younger kids, I have a 2-year-old at home, this is the one I do with him, you just use Arm & Hammer baking soda and vinegar and it makes these beautiful bubbles. You can add food coloring to it to make it colorful. It's so much fun. You can do a volcano, the classic erupting volcano. And for your older kids, you can do an Arm & Hammer baking soda rocket.
Calandrelli also says take time to get active with your kids and get creative with the resources available to you. For more information, visit armandhammer.com/STEAM.
A mini-me Da Vinci from Germany is selling his paintings for close to $7,000, and they are flying out the door. Young Laurent Schwartz showed his unique appreciation for art during a family vacation last fall. After returning home, his parents set the pint-sized Picasso up with a studio and watched as the toddler covered himself in the canvas with his colorful creations. Mom decided to create an Instagram account to share his work and was overwhelmed by all the attention. The kind comments prompted Lisa to start selling his work online. Art collectors will have to act fast, though, if they want a piece of this action. Nearly all of his creations have been sold, with some nearing 5 figures. While the toddler might be rolling in paint and cash, the money will stay tucked away in a bank account he can access when he turns 18.
All right, that I'm glad to
Yes.
hear. It sounds like they're really doing it for him. Even if maybe mom and dad might have helped out a little bit, it's okay. I'm glad that they're doing that. And really, it kind of pulls back and you go, if you saw the art, I mean, it does look cool.
It looks amazing.
But then you're also thinking, it's just whatever. There is artistic to that. Right?
Yeah. So, oftentimes you mention it. Sometimes I think parents take advantage of their little child protege and make a buck off of it. But at least they're trying to direct his talents in a certain way and then save money for him for a future art career or endeavor.
He was a little guy there, too.
Yeah.
He was a short and small guy. All right, we have more Flash around the corner. Stay with us. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Daily Flash. You know, when the weather turns warm, that means it is summertime. And what better time for some refreshing taste to fill our sunny days?
And we have got some incredible recipes for you today. Diane Smith from Florida Dairy Farmers joins us. Welcome back, Diane.
Hey, we love it when you're here.
Thank you so much.
You always bring such great stuff and everything looks wonderful. And yes, you know what? Summertime is when you have like light stuff, but you know what? Just something that's so filled with so much flavor too. And
great fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. We're celebrating June Dairy Month, and what I have for you all ideas and recipes, and you don't have to turn the oven or the stove.
That's the
I
best
promise.
part.
Oh,
That's the best
talk
part.
to us, Diane. Let's start down here at the end. You've got some beautiful fresh fruit.
Absolutely, it's just like having something fresh, but also we're gonna add a little bit of nutrition with what? With a Greek yogurt dip, right? So we either can have a savory for veggies, or we can have a sweet dip, and you can make it with Greek yogurt, which has double the amount of protein. So not only are you getting a healthy snack, it's just gonna be delicious.
And what's great about this, you set this out on the table,
Yeah.
you just go by, and throughout the day, you just kind of, eat a bit. and it's
Snack a
gonna be
little
gone.
bit.
Snack.
We're gonna hide a little bit of like a frozen ice pack underneath, so you keep it nice
That's a
and
good
cold.
idea. Right,
Yes.
Great idea. What about a good veggie tray for a summer party?
Absolutely, that's something that people could just snack on, and it's the same thing. You can add to Greek yogurt, you can add some dill, you can add some lemon zest, you can add some lemon juice and other spices, and it's just healthier. If you make it at home, you know what's going into it, and it's healthy.
And the colors, it also helps with decorating.
Yes.
Am I right?
Colors
or
are
wrong?
gorgeous, yeah. It just makes you want to eat it. It makes you feel summery.
Absolutely. And then what I have for you is this salad that's gonna be like you can eat at a room temperature. It's an orzo. It's like a Greek salad. I use orzo pasta. It looks like a rice shape, but you can use any pasta that you want. So not to worry. So I need a little bit of help in here.
All right,
We're
I'll
gonna
step back
put in
and you both
here.
can add our
So
stuff
we
in there.
have chopped peppers, and this is something that you cannot go wrong. Roasted red peppers,
All right, I
onions.
love
Just
that.
pick what you like.
You don't have to go-
Cucumbers.
you don't have to
go
put
everything
black
in there?
olives. You don't
Okay,
need
you
that
don't
much.
like the black. Okay, well, that's okay. We'll just
You
skip
know what? My
those.
family's the same. But if
put
you
some
like
in
black
there.
olives, make sure that you do get
We
them
gotta
some
have some
parsley
green.
and some cucumbers.
Cucumbers. Look how
Artichokes, if you like.
beautiful. Do you like
Yeah, I do.
artichokes?
Yeah,
Okay.
throw some in there. And if you can't have a salad without some good tomatoes,
Of
right?
course.
And then you've got to add the feta cheese.
Which we have the dairy in here, cheese. It takes 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese about.
Are you? Yeah, wow.
Absolutely. And it's full also of vitamins, minerals, and deliciousness. And now we're gonna finish that out with a little basil pesto. So we just grinded some basil, some Greek salad dressing, some lemon, garlic, and we just put it all together.
Amazing.
And then we're just gonna mix it all up. You can do this the day before. You can make it a couple hours before your guests arrive. And then you just put it out, and it's great for whatever get together you have. Look how beautiful it looks, the colors, and it's just delicious.
Yeah, the kids can have fun help making this too. Mix it because while you're doing that, I was like, I want to mix it up.
Absolutely. And then here we're gonna put that right here.
Yep.
Then I have another idea. Okay, who does not love ice cream, right?
Right?
Come on.
This is the perfect time
Yeah,
for it.
absolutely. But let's make it bite size and make it portable. So when you have a party, so in here we're gonna take a cookie. You can make them at home, or you can just pick them up at the store.
Okay.
We are going to add some vanilla ice cream.
Look how beautiful
And
that
I'm gonna
looks.
add 2 scoops.
2 scoops.
I'm gonna add 2 scoops.
Yeah, you know how to make them. That's for sure.
And then we're gonna go ahead and just press them all in.
Look at
Okay,
how
and then
beautiful that
we're gonna
looks.
cover up a little bit in here.
Can I say something about your ice
Yes.
cream? Look at this cool cow.
That is
Love that. That's
gorgeous.
awesome.
We always have lots of dairy
Yes.
fun stuff. And then what we do, is just we're gonna roll it up in some sprinkles, and you're just gonna put them in the freezer, or you can just eat them if you want.
I
You
don't
can
think
have
they'd
an
make it in
activity.
my house.
They wouldn't.
You can have an activity after your barbecue, after you get together, and you can just, have everybody make their own ice cream sandwich.
Ice cream sandwich. And who doesn't love an
great
ice cream
idea,
sandwich?
right?
And the variety of what you can use, like the chocolate chips,
You
make
can use
up any kind of
frozen
combination.
yogurt,
Right. Oh, yeah.
milk,
yeah.
ice cream is primarily made with milk. So you're having, again, it's fun, but it's also delicious, nutritious, and sustainable as well.
You've got these beautiful blue milkshakes,
Yes.
which are just show-stopping.
And this is a vanilla milkshake. And we just added a little bit of food coloring to it. And the idea is be creative at home, have fun with it. Like we can make it a 4th of July theme, and you can add different colors. You can have it for Father's Day, for whenever you want to.
I'm going to make it red, white, and blue. How about that?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
oh,
on the
look
top.
at that.
Right on top.
Gorgeous.
And again, and they're not as hard as everybody thinks. With a milkshake, all you need again is a freezer, to get it nice and thick and that sort of thing, and plenty of good milk as well, right?
Absolutely. We always work with our farmers to make sure every year they're innovating, that they are developing new processes to not only, be sustainable, but as well, take care of the land, reuse the water, and all those different things that are important to all of us in the community.
Because you oftentimes hear grass-fed,
Yes.
everything
Oh,
about
that's true,
grass-fed dairy and how important that is for nutrition.
Well, all cows are grass-fed at some point in time. Some of them have them the full time. Some of them have grain, it depending on what part of the country that they live in and what is sustainable, right? Because if you have to move, grass, 1,000 miles
True.
to feed them, then they might eat some other things that are better for them.
That makes complete sense, and I think with all of this is that it's just, it's again, as you mentioned when you started off, you don't need an oven for any of this stuff.
Yes.
I just see a lot of just keeping the kids, active and something to think for. If you think about it, they at the beginning of the day, they make these and say, "Are you good?" After
Yes.
dinner tonight, you can
Motivator.
get them, a little bit of a motivator of what you made too.
Why is milk so much better when it comes out of a glass bottle?
Yeah, it is.
And you know what? And there's also, it's delicious, and I think it's just something that
Yes.
it's like we grew up with and we idolize. But I think another thing important is that milk is primarily water. It has electrolytes, and there have been some studies lately that say that milk is even more hydrating than water. Why? Because they have the proteins and the vitamins and minerals that make your body absorb it, as well as help your muscles
Like your
recover
calcium,
faster.
too, in your
Mhm.
bones.
Like runners, they drink chocolate milk after running and all of that. So it's always very important to stay hydrated in the summer.
And it for some reason we grow older and we stop drinking the milk and stuff because my 13-year-old has to have a big old glass of cold milk for dinner every night.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would miss that, it's always just water or whatever. But I think I might switch over to
There's
milk.
just so many other things, but of course, having your 3 servings a day of dairy, is so important because we need the calcium.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there's just so many other things in there that are gonna help you be healthy.
And it's delicious too, Diane.
Of
Thank
course.
you so much.
Yes.
It's such good stuff here. It's
Beautiful.
probably not going to make it out of the studio. I'm not going to lie to you.
No,
I'm
it
going to go
won't.
very, very quick. We want to make sure that you, of course, can be able to check out some of these delicious
Yes.
treats and recipes as well.
Yeah, for more information on Diane and any of these recipes, all you have to do is go to floridamilk.com and be sure to visit floridamilk.com for any of these recipes. You can also head to our website.
That's right. Always open for you. DailyFlashShow.com. Don't go anywhere. We got more. This food is going right here in my belly.
Attention Daily Flash fans. Ever dreamt of being part of the action? Now's your chance. Join our exclusive virtual audience and experience the show like never before. Get a special credit on the show, interact with our fabulous hosts, chat with producers, and guess what? Some lucky participants might even find themselves on a massive billboard in iconic locations like New York's Times Square, Los Angeles' Sunset Strip, Miami, or Atlanta. Don't miss out on this electrifying opportunity. Sign up now by heading over to Blyzeal.com and be a star with the Daily Flash virtual audience.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Daily Flash.
We love having you here. And I always try to, sometimes Jackson will say something, and I'll act like I know it, what she's talking about, but it takes a little while for me to catch on. So I'm pretty good at faking, like, if I know what's going on. So
Yeah.
Eliza, my wife, and I, we went out and got some nice dinner, and we went to this restaurant that kind of prides themselves on changing their menu a lot, right?
Unique items on the menu.
Yeah, stuff you don't normally see.
Yeah.
And so we used to go there. One of our first dates was there. And so we always go back there. Well, we go back there, and we happened to get a waitress. I guess she was busy or just didn't have time for me or for anybody. I'm not saying anything about it. She smiled at least. So we're going down. I don't know all this new stuff on here. And so I go, all right, what is chicken confit?
Confit.
So what's the
confit.
It's pronounced
Confit.
which is basically it's cooked in duck fat,
Yes.
right? And so and right there, like you could tell right there, she's like, well, this guy has no
amateur.
idea. And he's like, he don't know what he's talking about.
Fast
and
food
I'm like,
down the street.
so I ask more, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. And I go, well, I'm going to go with what I know. So I go, well, I'll get steak tartare. And I was this close to saying, and I'll have it well done. I like it well done, right? But I didn't, right?
Because
So
you've eaten steak tartare before.
No, I
No,
haven't.
you haven't. I thought you had.
No, that's the whole thing. So my hand in heavens, I never had it. So I'm thinking steak tartare is like a steak and it's got like some cream on it,
Some
like
tartar sauce.
So she brings it back and she sets it down and gives a beautiful presentation. Now, if you don't know what steak tartare is,
It's raw meat. It's
It
raw
is-
beef.
it is raw beef.
Raw beef.
And
Yes.
so the hamburger patty was on there, and she leaves, and I go, I go, Liza, they didn't cook my ham. She goes, that's what steak tartare is. And I was like, what? I go, well, when I get like salmonella if I eat it? And she's like, no, they do it in the back. And anyway, they come back and I said, can I get a box? And she's like, sure. She goes, you want something else? I go, no. I go, I'm gonna cook this when I go home. And I did. It was delicious.